Hello and welcome to the latest in a series of quickfire shows on Scotland's Euro 2020 adventure produced by DC Thomson Media. We'll be bringing you these short panel discussions throughout the Scots' involvement in the tournament, with Steve Clarke's side getting underway yesterday, as we know, and suffering a miserable 2-0 Hampden defeat to the Czech Republic. Now, these chats will be helmed by me, Sean Hamilton, from the Courier.
And me, Ryan Cryle, from the Press and Journal, who will also be joined by some of Scottish football's biggest names.
Joining us today is a Scotland international who has turned out for the likes of Blackpool, Stoke City and Liverpool in England's Premier League. He's been capped 26 times by Scotland and recently helped boyhood club Dundee back to the Premiership. It's Charlie Adam. How are you this morning, Charlie?
Very well, thank you. Just in this pre-season mode, the fixtures have come out for the Premier League, so the excitement starts. Yeah.
And alongside Charlie is the manager who led Scotland to Euro 96 and the World Cup in France 2 years later. You've probably heard him in multiple podcasts and seen him on TV in recent days, but he's made some time for us this morning, the second time he's made time for us in a week, I think. It is, of course, Craig Brown. Craig, how you doing?
Morning, happy to be here, Ryan.
Well, guys, Hampden yesterday. Scotland have waited 23 years for a taste of tournament football, and we get it there. And unfortunately, we've got a familiar feeling of disappointment about us today. I mean, when you look at that game, Charlie, yesterday, I mean, where do you think Scotland went wrong? Because I mean, Steve Clarke's rightly said that they played okay in patches. They did well, but the result was not ours. What went wrong for Scotland, Charlie? Do you think?
Two wonderful goals. You know, a world-class header and a world-class strike from 45 yards. That's what beat us. I, as a Scotland fan yesterday, I remember Euro 96, I remember a little bit of France 98, but that's as proud as I've been for a long, long time watching Scotland. I thought Scotland were good. They created chances, they had a buzz about them, and they were undone by two wonder goals. You know, it was a wonderful header from a striker. Yeah, he gets in between two centre-backs, but to get away from Marshall, because there was not much pace on the ball, and the strike was it was a wonderful strike. So I think the buzz and the build-up to then be deflated, I'm, as a Scotland fan, very proud of what the lads achieved yesterday. I've took a buzz from it, still excited for what's going to happen in the tournament. Looking forward to Friday now. And I wouldn't be too downbeat about it. I see everybody's thinking, "Oh, this is it," and typical Scotland. But no, I'm upbeat and I'm positive, because the lads should be proud of what they've done. Because at times, yeah, we did have some great performances. Robertson, I thought, was excellent on that left hand side, and then, like I say, unstuck by two quality goals.
Craig, we talked last week about the pageantry around games and major tournaments. There's obviously, with Scotland in particular, been quite a lot of buzz and build-up, as Charlie was saying, 23 years since we've been at a major tournament. It felt at times in the game like maybe in the final third, the players couldn't quite settle down, and maybe did that have a bearing on the fact that they didn't manage to put away some of the chances that presented themselves to Scotland yesterday?
Yeah, I agree with you, but also agree wholeheartedly with what Charlie was saying there. I thought we played well. We were very unfortunate. I think to create as many chances as that yesterday in an international is quite unusual, I can tell you, because defences are very, very good at that level. So we created a number of good chances, which and another day we'd have gone in. And the one thing I would like to point out here is that we were without our best player. The best player in recent games has been Tierney. Now, I know from experience, I was at 3 World Cups with Scotland, and when Alex Ferguson invited me to go and the staff to Mexico, we lost our best player in that tournament, and that was Kenny Dalglish. Then I'm with Andy Roxburgh in the World Cup in Italy in 1990. And arguably the best player in Scotland at that time was Davy Cooper. And with Davy Cooper was injured, and so was John Robertson, they couldn't go. And then I get the job in 98 to go to France. And our best player got injured and couldn't go, Gary McAllister. So we missed Dalglish, Cooper and McAllister. And then yesterday, what happens? The same luck, or bad luck, we lost Tierney. Now, Tierney's an influential guy. To play I wouldn't going to say a makeshift back three, but a different. They've not played together before that back three. And that was probably because of Tierney's absence. And I put a lot of sort of wee bit misunderstanding at the back down to the fact he wasn't there. And I think it's totally wrong to criticise Henry. The young guy, Jack Henry, tries a shot and it gets blocked. And as a result of that, they score up at the other end. And of course, the big fella, we're talking about a striker, a 30 million Bayern Leverkusen striker. He went to Roma for about 7 or 8 million, I think. Before that, he was at Sampdoria, Roma. Now, this guy's got some pedigree.
He scored
for, I think, 26.5 million. I think that's pounds, about 30 million euros or thereabouts. Now, that's the value. Now, that's the kind of goal you get from a player at that price. So I think we're desperately unlucky, and hopefully it'll change at Wembley.
Well, I think we've maybe uncovered a new curse around Scotland there, the curse of losing the best player at a tournament. Seems to
we did the
seems to have happened.
Three World Cups, without doubt.
Yeah.
You're not going to tell me that if Kenny Dalglish had gone to Mexico with Sir Alec, we wouldn't have qualified. I'm sure we would. Aye. And then Davy Cooper was on fire that season. And then McAllister was the key man in all the qualification games I had. And then he gets injured playing for Coventry. And we can't have him for the World Cup in France. So then Tierney yesterday.
Yeah.
Now, that's not an excuse. That's a reason. It's a valid reason for the team being upset when your best player's not there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we are assured, I think, that Tierney should be okay for the England game. But I mean, if he is, then you would imagine he'll come straight back into that side, given how he's played so far. But I mean, there's a few kind of other potential selection issues that maybe threw themselves up against the Czechs when we're looking ahead to the England game. I mean, the likes of Callum McGregor not playing, Ryan Christie and Armstrong both playing, Jay Adam didn't play against the Czech Republic up top. Do you think there's a few changes that Steve Clarke might look at, Charlie?
I think he will. I think Adams will play. Like Craig said, he's been to Wembley. You need your footballers in that game, because if we go to Wembley and we allow England to have the ball, or we play one up, it's going to come straight back. So we need to have players on the pitch that can handle the ball. Gilmour, McGregor, McTominay. We need people in there that will be able to hold it for a little bit and keep possession, drag a little bit of England out to then allow, maybe runs from Adams in behind. So I think there'll be 2 or 3 changes. But it's, listen, we're all picking teams, and we could all say, at 1 o'clock yesterday when the Scotland team come out, I wouldn't have played him, and him. Listen, Steve went with what he thought was best for what the national team was. And, you kind disagree with that. He's worked so hard to get that team into the competition. That's what he went with. He changed it at half-time, and he'll probably make changes in the second game. So, whatever he does, you've got to stick by it and just hope the lads can perform in the night. Yeah, listen, England were good against Croatia, but there's definitely opportunities that you can get at England and cause them problems.
You've both talked a little bit about the quality of both goals that the Czechs scored. Patrick Schick. A lot's been made of where David Marshall was positioned for the second goal. Do you guys are better tactical experts than we are? Should David Marshall have been that high? Do we have an opinion on that?
Well, Patrick, the goal scorer, Patrick, he thought he was too high, and apparently he saw him in the first half. I heard his interview. Great English. Yeah. This guy will be bilingual or multilingual, I think. He'll obviously speak German now. He's playing in Germany, and he's got his own language in the Czech Republic, and he's speaking English better than we do. Sorry, I do, not you guys. No, but I thought his interview was brilliant, and he said, I noticed the first half he was playing well out. He was out well out his lineup, his goal. Now that's the fashion nowadays. It's fashionable for the goalkeeper to be involved in starting the build-up, and of course you can't do that if you're standing at your goal line. You want to be out of it, and I think it was just one of those times when he was caught out. But by and large, I don't think normally you would say you've got to stand back in your goal. But, that's a matter of opinion. In my time, I'm a wee bit of an old man. The goalkeeper stayed further back, and he usually launched the ball quite, they had a fashion. Everybody in their half and put it in there, and we'll fight for it. And we'll play. Now everything's getting built from the back, and it's a much better game to watch. And I'm sure Charlie will tell you, to play in, I would think, when the ball's getting passed about the team, you're not fighting for a high clearance from the goalkeeper. So our goalkeepers have been encouraged to build from the back, It's cost us a couple of times in the past, but I think he was very, very unfortunate, David Marshall.
I think if you look at Marshall's positioning and what Schick said, it's something that when I scored that goal at Chelsea, I knew where Courtois was on the pitch, and I knew that's doing the homework before the game. It's something that you look at because you know you've got the ability to score from there, or if it ever drops to you, you do that homework. And I knew that Courtois was so far off his line at times because Chelsea played a high line, like you say, sweeper keeper. Ederson does it a lot now in England. Alisson's the same. So Marshall's probably, for me, is maybe 10, 15 yards too far forward. But it's still a hell of a strike to go from there. But if we're going to nitpick, Henry could have played it wide, but he has the shot. I think Grant Hanley's on the wrong side of Schick. Maybe, he's 10 yards off him. Robertson's too far up the pitch, which is natural because of where he is the wing back. Cooper's too far over. So if Grant Hanley's defending on the other side, he doesn't have that opportunity. So it's just small details. Like I say, at international level, Craig's coached there, managed there. Small details kill you at international level. And that's what's done us for that goal. And, listen, Marcy's done an incredible job for Scotland over the years, got us there with the penalty saves. And on the day, it's just been done by a bit of quality.
Whose was better, Charlie?
Schick's saves in the game. He had 3 good saves as well.
And the boy could have scored a hat-trick, so he had a couple of good saves as well. I know, my goal was better.
Yours is better, yeah?
Absolutely.
You were further out, were you not?
67 yards, yeah.
Yeah, you were. There you go.
At Stamford Bridge against the best goalkeeper in the world.
There you go.
Scotland had a good goal like that recently.
Who?
He did against St Johnstone, Lawrence Shanklin.
That was a great strike, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's been done before, but you don't need to be a 30 million striker to do that. I mean, Charlie's only a 28 million striker. He did it. So.
28 grand now, Craig.
Looking ahead to Friday, guys, it's England. It's the big one, if you like. When you looked at the fixtures before this tournament, that's the one you can't help but look at and think that'll be tasty. Obviously, England are a very, very good side. What chance do you give us at Wembley, Charlie? Do you think we can go down there and get something?
Well, yeah, I do. We're Scotland, we can fight, we can run, we can tackle. We just got to make it horrible for England. If we allow England to, your Fodens, your Sterlings to get on it, dictate the game, then it's going to be a tough afternoon. But if we go and get after them and show them a bit of competitiveness, a bit of nastiness, then it'll be a good game. And listen, England have got faults in their team, and Steve will be working on that from today, looking at what they can do to hurt England. So we'll see what happens. But listen, England have got good quality, top players, but we've been there before, and we've upset the apple cart. Remember when Don Hutchinson scored that goal? We were underdogs then, and we won that game. So hopefully we can do that as well.
As usual, England have every advantage. They've got home advantage and they've got an extra day's rest. And I think, in tournament play, an extra day, when the games are coming thick and fast, I think that's quite important. And I think they seem to get every advantage when we're playing them. And, it annoyed me when I saw the fixtures coming out. They're at home and they've got another day before rest before they play us. Now, I think, obviously, I'm sure our manager Stevie will freshen the team up a wee bit, but still the legs will be a wee bit more tired than those of England. But Charlie's right, England are a very good side, but we needn't fear them. There's no need for being intimidated by England down there. In fact, what I find, it doesn't happen too often, but if England go behind at home, they're not so comfortable coming back, and they can't handle things going against them. That was my feeling. But they're used to being confident and cocky about it. But hopefully we'll do it. And I agree with Charlie. I think we can get down there and upset them.
I watched the England game, and there was moments in the game where, they passed the ball back and the fans were booing because they weren't happy with it.
That's
and
correct.
They were frustrated. And Pickford was trying to, I don't know why, but he just tries to kick it as hard and as far as he could all the time. Him and Stones were arguing about situations where at times they want to play out and he just wants to kick it long. So was a little bit of tension in there. And let's say, Craig said, if you get in England's face and you upset them first 10, 15 minutes and it's not going well, the fans will turn on them, and that's what you have to do. That's what you're trying to do if you're an underdog in an away game. You always try and turn the fans against them. Keep it tight first 15, 20 minutes and a bit edgy, then the fans will turn, because the England fans will expect them to win 3 or 4-0. And the pressure's on England there.
Mm-hmm. Craig, just finally, when I'm thinking about the game that Charlie referenced before, Don Hutchison at Wembley, what was your message to that team before that game?
There's a wee interesting thing in that game when we played them. No, sorry, it was the European Championship game. The youngest player in the park we had in the game before that, when we played, we lost the game and Gary missed the penalty.
Yeah.
The youngest player in the park was the best player in the park, and I keep saying that, and it was Barry Ferguson. Now they had I'm getting the two games confused because they had in midfield Scholes. You're right, it was the game we're talking about.
That would have been the playoff, yeah.
They had Scholes, it was a playoff. They had Scholes, they had Redknapp, they had Beckham, and Ince in midfield. Now these are good players. And the best player in the park was the youngest player. Barry Ferguson was 20. And I've watched the tape of that game, I didn't know at the time, but I knew he played well. But he was outstanding. And then we brought on a 19-year-old, Martin Burchell. And the two youngest players now, they're talking about bringing Gilmour or not. Now, I think I wouldn't have brought Gilmour on because he's a very good player. There's no doubt about that. But he's so inexperienced for international football. I think he's only played a couple of dozen games, if he has that, for Chelsea, less than that. Now, but Ferguson had played 2 seasons for Rangers by the time he went to Wembley. And he controlled the game. So his age shouldn't be against Gilmour coming into the team. But the lack of experience might well be against him. But certainly not his age. You wouldn't say, well, he's too young to make an impression. That is not my experience at Wembley, you know. But whether they'll bring Gilmour about, I think it'll be taking a chance.
But you could use that an advantage, couldn't you, as a young player who's playing at a top-level club? The pressure every day, being there, training with the best players, Kante, Jorginho, Kovacic, trying to get into that team. There's a pressure there that himself, and he knows who he's playing against every week. It's not like he's playing, somebody that he's never played against. He's played against these England players before, so he knows what they're all about. So that's why I think, listen, you were always going to go with a bit of experience first game. Your O'Donnells and, Armstrong and people like, okay, McGregor might have been a little bit of a surprise, but this game, for Gilmour, this is the game that, like you say, this could just set his career alight and alive. Like you say, young Barry Ferguson, who was the best player on the pitch then, you never know what can happen. And sometimes you just got to throw these young players in and see what they can do. And I just hope that Steve, listen, he believes in him, he trusts him, and I hope he gets the opportunity.
Steve's good at throwing players in. He put his young boy Taylor in, for example, the commandant player, into international team. Yeah. And he's not slow to put young players into his team at club level and at international level. So we might see Gilmour. I'm not sitting here saying we should play Gilmour. I'm just saying there's no reason not to play him, on account of age, that is.
Oh well, Craig, I'll say it. We should play him.
Well, I'm not going to dispute that. But the thing about it is, I'm sitting here. I've never seen Gilmour playing for Chelsea in the flesh. I've never seen Adams playing up front down there at Southampton. So, we're sitting here and we're asked opinions, and it's unfair. Yeah. It used to annoy me when guys, journalists in Scotland, were talking about Anglos. They'd never actually seen them play.
No.
Had they been down to see Charlie playing in England, Now, and they were making pronouncements about who should be in the team.
This is suddenly turned into an attack on journalism here. I'm not having this.
But I'll tell you, the easiest team to pick, somebody else's.
Yeah, that's exactly it, and that's what I'm saying. Right. That's why, like before the game, but the game started, I'm trying to be upbeat and positive, because we're all picked Steve's team a million times. Oh, he should be playing. He shouldn't be playing. There's only one man that matters, and that's Steve Clarke. He's got the job, and he's the one that picks. And whatever team he picks, we should support it. And it's just a tough job to be in at the moment.
Well, I think whichever team he picks, everyone will be supporting it on Friday night, the whole country, and it's a fingers crossed situation. Everyone will be watching it. Let's hope they can get something and keep this qualification dream alive. I think, guys, thanks ever so much for joining us today. It was really, really good of you. Great to have your opinions. And Ryan and myself will be back after the England game to check that one out.
Thanks. It's been a privilege, and it's been a privilege to listen to Charlie there. I think he's already a manager and a top coach with the sound of him. So,
thank you very much.
You know, see, I'm serious. You know, when I hear you, your interviews on television are magnificent, and you're playing, of course, for. It used to be the top team in the North East until I ended up at Aberdeen.
I'll bring that red wine up when we play you next week, the next season for you.
Good luck, except when you're playing the Dons.
Thank you very much.
Right, thanks, guys.
Cheers, thank you.
Thanks, catch you later.